Dr. Marcus Chen had seen many strange things during his 15 years working the night shift at St. Mary's Emergency Hospital, but nothing had prepared him for what arrived on that rainy Thursday evening. The ambulance sirens wailed through the storm as paramedics rushed through the automatic doors, wheeling in what appeared to be a severely injured woman. But as Marcus approached the gurney, his medical training faltered for just a moment. The patient was humanoid, but clearly not human. Her skin held an unusual blue-gray tint that seemed to shimmer under the harsh fluorescent lights. Her facial structure was elegant yet alien, with slightly larger eyes that reflected light like a cat's, and delicate pointed ears that reminded him of ancient elvish tales. Most striking were the intricate silver markings that traced along her temples and down her neck, appearing almost like natural tattoos that pulsed with a faint luminescence. "What do we know?" Marcus asked, snapping back into professional mode as they wheeled her into Trauma Bay 3. "Found her in Riverside Park," the lead paramedic Janet explained breathlessly. "Some jogger called it in. She's lost a lot of blood, Doc. Vitals are weak and getting weaker. We couldn't identify the injury source, but there's massive internal bleeding." Marcus quickly assessed the patient. Her breathing was shallow and rapid, skin cold to the touch despite the blue-gray coloration. When he lifted her eyelids to check pupil response, those cat-like eyes briefly focused on his face with an intelligence that made him pause. "She was conscious, aware, and terrified. Can you understand me?" he asked gently. The alien woman's lips moved slightly, producing sounds that were musical yet incomprehensible. Her voice carried harmonics that human vocal cords simply couldn't produce. When she realized he couldn't understand, tears began flowing from her unusual eyes, and she weakly grasped his hand with surprising strength. "It's okay," Marcus said soothingly. "We're going to help you." The next hour became a nightmare of medical challenges. Her physiology was similar enough to human that standard monitoring equipment worked, but different enough that normal treatments proved ineffective. Her blood type was unlike anything in their reserves, and synthetic plasma substitutes weren't being absorbed properly. Despite every effort, her condition continued deteriorating. "Doctor, we're losing her," Nurse Rodriguez called out as the monitors showed increasingly erratic readings. Marcus stared at the dying alien woman, his mind racing through possibilities. In his years of emergency medicine, he'd developed an almost supernatural ability to think outside conventional parameters when lives hung in the balance. An impossible idea began forming in his mind. "Get me a blood compatibility test kit," he ordered suddenly. "Doctor, we already tried every blood type we have in storage," Rodriguez reminded him. "Not our storage. Test her blood against mine." The room fell silent except for the urgent beeping of monitors. Rodriguez stared at him as if he'd lost his mind. "Sir, that's highly irregular. We don't know what kind of pathogens she might carry, or if human blood could even help her." "Look at her cellular structure under the microscope," Marcus insisted, drawing his own blood sample. "Her red blood cells are remarkably similar to ours, just with different protein markers. If there's even a chance of compatibility, we have to try." The blood test took agonizing minutes while the alien woman's life signs grew weaker. When Rodriguez looked up from the laboratory equipment, her expression showed complete bewilderment. "Doctor, this is impossible, but your blood shows complete compatibility. More than that, it seems to have some kind of enhancement effect on her cellular regeneration." Without hesitation, Marcus began setting up for a direct transfusion. "Prep a line from my arm to hers. We're going to try something that's either brilliant or completely insane." As his blood began flowing into the alien woman's system, the change was immediate and dramatic. The silver markings along her skin began glowing brighter, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Her breathing deepened and steadied. Most remarkably, her wounds began visibly healing at an accelerated rate. "My God," whispered Rodriguez, watching the monitors as the patient's vital signs not only stabilized, but began showing readings stronger than baseline human normal. The alien woman's eyes opened fully for the first time, focusing directly on Marcus with startling clarity. When she spoke again, her voice carried the same musical quality, but somehow he found himself understanding her meaning, if not her exact words. Gratitude, profound and overwhelming, seemed to flow from her very being. Marcus continued the transfusion until he felt lightheaded, having given more blood than was strictly safe. But the results were undeniable. The alien woman was not only stable, she appeared completely healed. More than that, she seemed stronger and more vibrant than when she'd first arrived. As dawn broke through the hospital windows, Marcus sat beside her bed, exhausted but amazed. The alien woman had fallen into what appeared to be a restorative sleep, her unusual features peaceful and serene. The silver markings on her skin had settled into a gentle, steady glow that seemed to pulse in harmony with his own heartbeat. "Doctor," Rodriguez approached quietly. "Her blood work is showing some very strange readings. It's like your blood didn't just save her life. It fundamentally changed her on a cellular level. And sir, your blood tests are showing changes too." Marcus looked down at his hands, noticing for the first time that his own skin seemed to have a subtle luminescence, barely visible but definitely present. Whatever had happened during that transfusion, it had affected both of them in ways that science couldn't yet explain. The alien woman stirred, her cat-like eyes opening to meet his gaze. When she smiled, Marcus felt something shift in the very fabric of reality around them. This was no ordinary medical intervention. This was the beginning of something that would change not just their lives, but potentially the future of both their species. Outside, the storm had passed, and the first rays of sunlight painted the hospital room in golden hues, illuminating two beings whose fates had become irrevocably intertwined through an act of compassion that transcended the boundaries of species. 3 days passed before the alien woman, who had begun calling herself Zara in broken English, was strong enough to communicate properly. Marcus had taken personal leave to stay near the hospital, fascinated by her rapid recovery and the strange connection he felt developing between them. The administration had classified her case as a government matter, with federal agents arriving to assess the situation, but Marcus's role as her treating physician gave him continued access. Zara's learning capacity proved extraordinary. Within hours of consciousness, she had begun absorbing English through careful observation and mimicry. Her species, she managed to explain through gestures and fragmented words, possessed enhanced neural plasticity that allowed rapid language acquisition. By the second day, she could form simple sentences, and by the third, she was speaking with remarkable fluency, though her voice retained its musical, harmonic quality. "My people call me Zara Thay Nalan," she told Marcus as they sat in the secure hospital room that had become her temporary home. "But Zara is easier for human tongues. Your language is beautiful in its simplicity." Marcus found himself drawn to her in ways that went beyond medical fascination. Her intelligence was obvious, her curiosity about humanity endless, and her gratitude toward him seemed to deepen with each passing hour. More concerning were the physical changes he was experiencing. The subtle luminescence in his skin had grown more pronounced, and he felt stronger, more alert than he had in years. "What's happening to us?" he asked during one of their long conversations. The blood transfusion changed something fundamental. Zara's expression grew serious, her cat-like eyes reflecting depths of knowledge that seemed ancient. "Among my people, blood sharing is sacred. It creates bonds that transcend physical existence. What you did, Marcus Chen, was give me life force itself. In my culture, this creates what you might call a soul bond." "What does that mean exactly?" "It means we are connected now in ways your science cannot measure. Your essence flows within me and mine within you. We share strength, longevity, and in time, other gifts." She paused, studying his face carefully. "But there is more you must understand. The bond compels certain biological imperatives." Before Marcus could ask what she meant, Dr. Sarah Williams, the hospital's chief of staff, entered with a team of federal researchers. Over the past 3 days, the situation had escalated from medical curiosity to matter of national security. Zara's presence on Earth raised questions about alien contact, technology, and potential threats that government agencies were scrambling to understand. "Ms. Zara," Dr. Williams began formally, "these gentlemen are from various government departments. They need to understand how you came to be here and whether others of your kind might follow." Zara straightened, and Marcus noticed the silver markings on her skin beginning to glow more intensely. When she spoke, her voice carried new authority and strength. "I am Zara Thay Nalan of the Ethereal Collective, first navigator of the exploration vessel Whispered Star. My ship encountered a spatial anomaly, 3 sectors from your solar system. The crew was forced to abandon ship, and I alone reached your world in an emergency pod. The crash damaged my internal biology severely." Agent Morrison, a stern man in a black suit, leaned forward. "Are others coming to look for you?" "My people do not abandon their own," Zara replied simply. "When I fail to report, search vessels will come. However, my ship's destruction means they will not know exactly where to look. It could be months or years before they locate this system. Marcus felt a chill at the implications. What happens when they find you? That depends on what they discover when they arrive, Zara said, her gaze meeting his. If they find me dead or imprisoned, they will consider humanity a threat. If they find me safe and well treated, possibilities for peaceful contact exist. Dr. Williams exchanged glances with the federal agents. We need to know more about your physiology, your technology, your people's capabilities. I will share what I can, Zara agreed. But understand that some knowledge is dangerous in the wrong hands. I will not provide information that could be used to harm either of our species. Over the following hours, Zara provided carefully measured information about her people. The Ethereal Collective was an ancient civilization that had mastered faster-than-light travel, energy manipulation, and biological enhancement. They were explorers and traders, generally peaceful but possessing defensive capabilities that made them formidable when threatened. Your people's aggression is noted in our databases, she admitted to the assembled humans. But so is your compassion, creativity, and potential for growth. You are watched with interest, not fear. Marcus remained quiet during most of the debriefing, but he couldn't shake the feeling that Zara was holding back crucial information. When the agents finally left for the day, he approached her directly. There's something you're not telling them about this bond between us, isn't there? Zara's expression softened, and she reached out to touch his hand. The moment their skin made contact, Marcus felt a surge of energy and emotion that wasn't entirely his own. Images flashed through his mind, memories of stars and distant worlds, feelings of love and loss that belonged to someone else. The blood bond does more than connect us spiritually, she said quietly. It makes us biologically compatible in ways that should be impossible between species. Among my people, such bonds are rare and precious. They indicate genetic compatibility for reproduction. Marcus stared at her, understanding beginning to dawn. You mean we could have offspring? Yes. Children who would carry the best traits of both our species. But Marcus, you must understand that the bond compels this. It is not merely possible, it is inevitable. My body will demand it and yours will respond. The biological imperative grows stronger each day we remain in proximity. As if to emphasize her point, Marcus felt a sudden, overwhelming attraction to her that went beyond anything he'd experienced. It was primal, compelling, and completely beyond his conscious control. How long do we have before this becomes impossible to resist? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Zara's silver markings pulsed brighter and her cat-like eyes seemed to glow in the dim hospital room lighting. Based on the rate of change in both our biologies, perhaps days. The bond recognizes that we are ideal genetic matches and is pushing us toward union. Marcus realized that his simple act of compassion had set in motion events that would change everything, not just for him and Zara, but potentially for the future relationship between humanity and an advanced alien civilization. The question now was whether he was ready for the consequences of saving a life. The government facility where they transferred Zara was nothing like the warm hospital environment. Located deep within a Colorado mountain complex, the underground laboratory felt cold and sterile, designed more for containing potential threats than caring for patients. Marcus had fought to maintain his role as her primary physician, arguing that their unique biological connection made separation dangerous for both of them. Dr. Elizabeth Reeves, the lead xenobiologist assigned to the case, observed their interactions with scientific fascination and growing concern. The cellular changes in both subjects continue accelerating, she reported to the Oversight Committee. Dr. Chen's blood now shows enhanced regenerative properties, increased oxygen efficiency, and elevated neural activity. The alien subject displays similar improvements, but her baseline physiology was already superior to human norms. Marcus barely listened to the clinical discussions about his changing biology. His attention remained focused on Zara, who had grown increasingly restless and agitated as the days passed. The silver markings on her skin now pulsed constantly, and her cat-like eyes held an intensity that made him feel as though she could see directly into his soul. The compulsion grows stronger, she told him during one of their monitored conversations. My body produces hormones that call to yours. Can you feel it? Marcus nodded reluctantly. The attraction between them had evolved beyond emotional connection into something that felt almost gravitational in its inevitability when they were in the same room. The air itself seemed charged with energy. When separated, he felt physically incomplete, as though part of himself was missing. Dr. Chen, Agent Morrison interrupted their conversation. We need to discuss the implications of this biological bond. Our experts are concerned about the potential security risks. What kind of risks? Marcus asked, though he suspected he already knew. Mind control, information sharing, the possibility that this alien is somehow manipulating you through this connection. Morrison's expression was grim. We've documented cases of your vital signs synchronizing, shared dream experiences, and what appears to be limited telepathic communication. Zara spoke up, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate through the metal walls. Agent Morrison, I understand your fears, but you misunderstand the nature of the bond. It does not create control, it creates unity. Marcus retains his free will, as do I. We simply share certain experiences and biological functions. That's exactly what concerns us, Dr. Reeves interjected. Ms. Zara, your people's technology and knowledge could be considered strategic resources. If Dr. Chen gains access to that information through this bond, then he becomes a bridge between our species. Zara finished calmly. Is that not what you would want? Someone who understands both human and ethereal perspectives? Marcus felt a surge of protectiveness that wasn't entirely his own emotion. Through their growing connection, he could sense Zara's frustration with the constant suspicion and clinical examination. She had saved herself by accepting his gift of blood, but in doing so, she had also sacrificed her freedom. What happens if we try to resist this biological imperative? He asked Dr. Reeves directly. Based on our analysis, attempting to suppress the bond could be dangerous for both of you. Your biologies are becoming increasingly interlinked. Separation for extended periods now causes stress responses in both subjects that could lead to system failure. That evening, as Marcus sat in his assigned quarters within the facility, he felt Zara's distress through their connection like a physical pain. The silver markings on his own skin, now clearly visible, began pulsing in rhythm with hers. When he closed his eyes, he could see through hers, watching her pace restlessly in her containment room 3 levels below. The images that came through their bond showed him her memories of home. The ethereal collective inhabited vast cities that floated among the stars, connected by streams of pure energy that allowed instantaneous travel between worlds. Her people were ancient, wise, and peaceful, but they possessed defensive capabilities that could turn asteroids into weapons or redirect the energy of stars themselves. Marcus, her voice echoed in his mind without her speaking aloud. The time approaches when choice becomes impossible. My people's biology demands reproduction when bonded with a compatible mate. Your human nature allows resistance, but at great cost to both of us. Through their connection, he felt her loneliness, her fear of being trapped forever on a primitive world, and beneath it all, a growing love that was both alien and utterly familiar. She had not chosen this bond any more than he had, but she was prepared to embrace its consequences. What do you want me to do? He asked silently. I want you to choose freely while you still can. If you accept the bond completely, we become something new together. If you resist, we both suffer, but you remain purely human. Marcus stood and walked to the reinforced window of his quarters, looking out at the star-filled sky. Somewhere out there, her people searched for her. When they found Earth, they would judge humanity based on how their lost navigator had been treated. The decision he made in the coming days might determine whether first contact brought alliance or annihilation. But beyond the political implications, he felt the truth of their connection in his bones. Zara was becoming part of him in ways that transcended species boundaries. The compassion that had driven him to save her life now compelled him toward a choice that would transform them both, forever. Dr. Chen. Dr. Reeves's voice came through the intercom. We're reading significant biometric spikes from both you and the subject. Are you experiencing any unusual symptoms? Marcus looked down at his hands, watching the silver patterns that now traced along his skin pulse with alien light. No symptoms, Doctor. Just clarity. As the night deepened, Marcus felt Zara's presence in his mind growing stronger. Soon the biological imperative would override conscious choice entirely. The question was whether humanity was ready for what they might become together, and whether the governments of Earth would allow them to discover the answer. Through their bond, he sensed ships moving in the darkness between stars, searching for their lost navigator. Time was running out for all of them. The breakthrough came on the 7th day of their confinement, when Marcus collapsed during a routine examination. His seizure-like episode lasted only minutes, but when he regained consciousness, Dr. Reeves discovered that his brain patterns had fundamentally changed. The silver markings on his skin now covered his arms and traced up his neck, pulsing in perfect synchronization with Zara's distant rhythm. "We need to reunite them immediately," Dr. Reeves announced to the Oversight Committee. "The separation is causing cascade failures in both their biological systems. Dr. Chen's human physiology is trying to adapt to ethereal neural patterns, and it's killing him." Agent Morrison remained skeptical. This could be a manipulation. The alien might be forcing these changes to ensure they're brought together. "Agent Morrison," Marcus said weakly from his medical bed. "I can hear Zara's thoughts now. She's as frightened as I am. This isn't manipulation. It's biological evolution happening in real time." When they finally brought them together in a specially prepared chamber, the relief was immediate and profound. Marcus felt his vital signs stabilize the moment Zara touched his hand, and the silver markings on both their bodies settled into a gentle, steady glow. "My people have legends about such bonds," Zara explained to the assembled scientists and officials. "They occur perhaps once in a millennium, usually between individuals who save each other's lives through great sacrifice. The legends say such bonds create beings capable of bridging the gap between species." Dr. Reeves monitored their readings carefully. "Your cellular structures are actually beginning to merge at the quantum level. This shouldn't be possible, but the data doesn't lie. You're becoming something that's neither fully human nor fully ethereal." Over the following days, as they remained in close proximity, the changes accelerated. Marcus found his senses enhanced beyond human norms, able to perceive energy patterns and electromagnetic fields that had been invisible before. His strength increased dramatically, and his healing rate matched Zara's accelerated regeneration. Zara, meanwhile, began experiencing human emotions with an intensity her species had never known. Through Marcus, she felt the full spectrum of human passion, creativity, and determination that had driven her people to classify humans as a species of exceptional potential. "Your people feel so deeply," she marveled one evening as they sat together, watching Earth's sunset through the facility's observation deck. "My kind experience emotion, but not with this intensity. Through you, I understand why humans achieve so much in such short lifespans. And through you, I'm beginning to understand patience and wisdom that spans centuries," Marcus replied. "Your people's perspective on time and growth is humbling." It was during their third week together that the inevitable finally occurred. The biological imperative that had been building between them reached a crescendo that could no longer be denied or delayed. What began as comfort and companionship evolved into something deeper, more primal and utterly beyond their conscious control. The union itself defied every law of biology that Earth science understood. Two different species evolved on worlds separated by hundreds of light years should have been completely incompatible. But the blood bond had rewritten the rules, creating compatibility where none should have existed. Dr. Reeves documented everything with scientific fascination and growing wonder. "The genetic combination is creating something entirely new. The embryonic development shows characteristics of both species, but enhanced and optimized in ways we've never seen." Agent Morrison paced nervously as he processed the implications. "So they're actually going to have a child? A hybrid offspring?" "Multiple offspring, based on the readings," Dr. Reeves corrected. "Zara's species typically bears twins, and the enhanced genetics seem to have increased that likelihood. These children will possess the best traits of both species: human adaptability and passion combined with ethereal longevity and mental capabilities." Marcus held Zara close as they absorbed the news. Through their bond, he could feel her joy mixed with apprehension. Among her people, pregnancy was rare and precious, occurring only when conditions were ideal for the species' survival and growth. "Our children will be the first of their kind," Zara said softly. "They will understand both worlds, both peoples. Perhaps they will be the bridge that allows our species to find common ground, or they could be seen as a threat by both sides." Marcus added practically, "Humans fear what they don't understand, and your people might see them as contamination of their pure genetic line." Zara's silver markings pulsed with determination. "Then we must ensure they are raised to be symbols of cooperation, rather than sources of fear." They will need to understand their unique heritage and the responsibility it carries. As the weeks passed, the physical changes in both parents continued. Marcus now looked more like Zara's species than human, though he retained distinctly human features. His lifespan had been extended to match hers, potentially lasting centuries. Zara had gained human emotional depth and creativity that transformed her own people's rigid thinking patterns. But the most significant change was in their shared consciousness. They could communicate telepathically across vast distances, share memories and experiences, and even temporarily merge their perspectives to see problems from multiple angles simultaneously. "We're becoming something new," Marcus observed one night as he felt their children stirring within Zara's body. Not human, not ethereal, but something that incorporates the best of both. "The birth approaches," Zara replied, her hand resting on her transformed belly. "And with it, the arrival of my people's search vessels. They will sense the birth across space through quantum entanglement with my life force." Through the facility's windows, they could see government officials and scientists preparing for first contact. Earth's governments had finally accepted that the alien search ships would come, and humanity's response to Zara's situation would determine whether that contact brought peace or conflict. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. His simple act of medical compassion had set in motion events that would reshape the future of both species. The children growing within Zara would be the living proof that cooperation between humans and aliens was not just possible, but could create something greater than either species could achieve alone. As Zara's silver markings began pulsing in the rhythm that indicated approaching labor, Marcus knew that everything was about to change forever. The birth of their children coincided with the arrival of the ethereal search fleet, creating a convergence of events that would reshape galactic history. As Zara entered labor, deep space monitoring stations detected massive energy signatures approaching from beyond Pluto's orbit. The ethereal vessels moved faster than anything human science thought possible, crossing the solar system in mere hours. Dr. Reeves and her medical team worked frantically to ensure a safe delivery, while government officials prepared for first contact protocols. Marcus remained at Zara's side throughout the labor, their shared consciousness allowing him to experience both the pain and joy of bringing new life into existence. "They're coming," Zara gasped between contractions, her silver markings blazing with intensity. "The fleet commander is my cousin, Thalen Ray Nolan. He will be prepared for battle if he believes I've been harmed." The first child emerged just as the lead ethereal vessel entered Earth's atmosphere. She was beautiful beyond description, possessing Zara's elegant features but with Marcus's warm brown eyes. Her skin held a pearl-like luminescence that shifted between human pink and ethereal blue-gray, and delicate silver markings traced her tiny limbs like living jewelry. "She's perfect," Marcus whispered, cradling his daughter as Zara prepared to deliver the second child. The boy followed minutes later, showing more human characteristics but with Zara's cat-like eyes and pointed ears. Both children radiated an energy that seemed to calm everyone in the room, as though their very presence brought peace and understanding. Outside the facility, massive ethereal ships descended from the clouds, their crystalline hulls refracting sunlight into rainbow patterns that painted the landscape in impossible colors. The vessels themselves were works of art, appearing to be grown rather than built, with organic curves that pulsed with living light. "The lead ship is requesting communication," reported Colonel Martinez from the command center. "They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies, but we can't decode their language." "I can translate," Marcus offered, surprised to find that he understood the harmonic speech patterns through his bond with Zara. The silver markings on his skin were now responding to the alien transmissions, creating a living translation matrix. The face that appeared on the main screen was unmistakably related to Zara, sharing her elegant bone structure and luminous eyes, but masculine and bearing intricate silver markings that indicated high rank among their people. "I am Thalen Ray Nolan, fleet commander of the Ethereal Collective," the alien spoke, his voice carrying harmonics that made human audio equipment struggle to reproduce the full range. "We seek our lost navigator, Zara Nolan. Provide her location or face the consequences." Marcus stepped forward, still holding his newborn daughter. "Commander Thalen, I am Marcus Chen and Zara is safe. But before we proceed, there are developments you need to understand." The alien commander's expression shifted as he focused on Marcus's transformed appearance and the child in his arms. The silver markings on his face began pulsing rapidly, indicating extreme surprise or shock. "You bear the sacred markings," Thalen said slowly. "And the child. She carries ethereal life force signatures. This is impossible." "Nothing is impossible when species choose cooperation over conflict," Marcus replied. "Your cousin was dying when she arrived on Earth. I saved her life through blood transfusion, creating a bond that your people consider sacred." Zara's voice joined the conversation, speaking in her native language with harmonics that seemed to resonate through the ship's communication systems. Marcus could understand every word through their connection as she explained the circumstances of her rescue, their bond, and the birth of their children. The alien commander's reaction was profound. The aggressive posture of his fleet began to shift as ships powered down weapon systems and assumed ceremonial formations. Through the bond, Marcus felt Zara's relief as she sensed her cousin's growing amazement rather than anger. "A true soul bond," Thalen whispered in accented English, "the first recorded in over 1,000 years. And children born of two species." The prophecies spoke of such events marking a new age of galactic evolution. Dr. Reeves approached carefully with monitoring equipment. "Commander, if I may, the genetic analysis of these children shows remarkable properties. They possess the longevity and mental capabilities of your species. Combined with human adaptability and emotional range, they may represent an evolutionary leap for both our peoples." Over the following hours, delegations from both species met while Marcus and Zara presented their children to representatives of two civilizations. The babies seemed to understand their unique role instinctively, remaining calm and alert during examinations that revealed capabilities beyond either parent species. They process information at ethereal speeds, but with human intuitive leaps, Dr. Reeves reported. Their cellular regeneration surpasses both parent species, and they show signs of enhanced empathic abilities that could allow them to understand and communicate with virtually any sentient species. Commander Thalen studied the children with growing wonder. "Among my people, such offspring are spoken of in ancient texts as harbingers of unity. They appear when the galaxy stands ready for the next phase of evolution." "What does that mean for our species?" asked President Harrison, who had arrived to personally oversee first contact negotiations. "It means," Zara said, holding her son while Marcus cradled their daughter, "that our children represent proof that cooperation between species can create something greater than either could achieve alone. They will serve as ambassadors, bridges between worlds, living examples of what becomes possible when fear gives way to compassion." The ethereal fleet began deploying peaceful contact protocols, establishing a temporary embassy in Earth's orbit. The ships themselves became centers of cultural and technological exchange, with human scientists and ethereal researchers working together to understand the implications of the hybrid children. Marcus found himself overwhelmed by the responsibility thrust upon him and his family. What had begun as a simple medical emergency had become a pivotal moment in galactic history. "Are we ready for this?" he asked Zara during a quiet moment with their children. "Ready or not, the future is here," she replied, watching their daughter's silver markings pulse in response to her father's touch. "Our children will grow up in a universe where humans and ethereals work together. They will help both species reach for possibilities we cannot yet imagine." As Earth's first day of official alien contact drew to a close, Marcus realized that his act of compassion had opened a doorway to the stars. The children sleeping peacefully in their arms would be the first generation of galactic citizens, raised with the wisdom of ancient ethereal civilization and the passionate creativity of humanity. The universe had suddenly become much larger and full of unprecedented possibilities. 6 months after first contact, the Chen Nalan residence had become the most closely watched home in human history. Located within a specially constructed diplomatic complex that served both human and ethereal needs, their house blended Earth architecture with ethereal energy flow principles, creating a living space that seemed to pulse with its own gentle rhythm. Marcus watched their children play in the garden, marveling at their rapid development. At 6 months old, both Arya and Kyle displayed intelligence and abilities that defied conventional understanding. Arya could already communicate in simple, harmonic frequencies like her mother's people, while Kale showed an intuitive grasp of human emotional nuances that allowed him to calm distressed adults with just a touch. Their neural development is extraordinary, Dr. Reeves reported during one of her weekly examinations. They're processing information at rates that suggest they'll achieve adult-level cognition within 2 years, rather than the typical 15 to 20. Zara nursed Cale while monitoring energy patterns that only she and Marcus could perceive. Among my people, accelerated development is normal for children of exceptional destiny. Our offspring are preparing themselves for the roles they will need to fulfill. The roles were becoming clear as tensions developed between various Earth factions and the growing ethereal presence. While most of humanity welcomed the technological and medical advances that came with alien cooperation, some groups viewed the hybrid children as symbols of genetic contamination or threats to human purity. Protesters gathered outside the Geneva Convention Center again, Marcus reported, reading news feeds on his tablet. They're calling for the expulsion of all ethereal personnel and demanding that our children be placed in government custody for proper human upbringing. Commander Thalen, who had become a frequent visitor to their home, expressed concern from the ethereal perspective. My people also face opposition. Conservative factions within the collective argue that the soul bond represents dangerous deviation from our evolutionary path. The political pressures intensified when Earth's governments began requesting access to ethereal technology for military applications. The aliens' energy manipulation capabilities could revolutionize warfare, space travel, and planetary defense, but they could also be turned into weapons of unprecedented destruction. We cannot share such knowledge until humanity demonstrates wisdom to match its ambition, Thalen explained during a particularly tense diplomatic session. Your species' history shows remarkable creativity, but also disturbing capacity for self-destruction. It was during this period of growing tension that Arya and Cale began demonstrating abilities that surprised even their ethereal relatives. While playing together, they could temporarily merge their consciousness, sharing thoughts and perceptions, in ways that created a collective intelligence greater than either possessed individually. Watch this, Marcus called Zara over to observe their children during playtime. Arya and Cale sat facing each other, their silver markings beginning to pulse in perfect synchronization. As the light grew brighter, both children's eyes reflected the same shared awareness. Speaking in unison, they began describing complex mathematical relationships that Dr. Reeves later confirmed were advanced theoretical physics concepts. When the connection ended, they returned to normal infant behavior, playing with toys as though nothing extraordinary had occurred. They're not just hybrid children, Dr. Reeves realized. They're developing into something entirely new. Their shared consciousness allows them to process information and solve problems in ways neither human nor ethereal minds can achieve alone. The breakthrough came when hostile alien scouts from a different species began probing Earth's outer defenses. The newcomers belonged to a militaristic empire called the Hegemony that had been expanding aggressively through human space, conquering or destroying every species they encountered. Hegemony forces detected the ethereal energy signatures, Commander Thalen reported grimly. They consider any species capable of faster-than-light travel to be potential threats requiring elimination. Earth's military forces prepared for invasion, while ethereal ships took defensive positions around the planet. The technological mismatch was stark. Humanity's most advanced weapons would be virtually useless against hegemony technology, while the ethereals possessed powerful defenses but had philosophical restrictions against aggressive warfare. It was Arya and Cale who provided the solution. During a crisis meeting attended by both human and ethereal leaders, the children began their consciousness-merging behavior. This time, however, their shared awareness reached out beyond their physical bodies, somehow interfacing with both human, computer systems and ethereal crystal networks simultaneously. What are they doing? President Harrison asked as data streams began flowing across every screen in the command center. They're creating a bridge, Zara breathed, watching her children with amazement. They're linking our two species' technologies in real time, creating a combined defense network. The hybrid consciousness that emerged from Arya and Cale's connection began generating tactical solutions that neither species could have conceived independently. Human adaptability and quick thinking merged with ethereal energy manipulation and advanced mathematics, creating strategies that utilize the best capabilities of both civilizations. When the hegemony fleet arrived expecting to find a primitive world defended by a small alien presence, they instead encountered a coordinated defense system that seamlessly blended two completely different technological approaches. Earth's satellites provided targeting data processed through ethereal quantum computers, while human tactical flexibility guided ethereal energy weapons with unprecedented precision. The battle lasted only hours. The hegemony forces, accustomed to overwhelming less advanced species, found themselves completely outmatched by the unexpected cooperation between humans and ethereals. The hybrid defense network anticipated their every move while responding with technologies they had never encountered. As the defeated hegemony ships retreated, Arya and Kale collapsed from exhaustion, their silver markings dim but peaceful. They had just proved that hybrid consciousness could accomplish what neither parent species could achieve independently. "This changes everything," Commander Thylin observed, watching human and ethereal personnel work together with new understanding and respect. "Your children have shown both our peoples what becomes possible when we truly unite." Marcus held his sleeping daughter while Zara cradled their son. In the space of a few hours, their children had evolved from diplomatic symbols into living proof that cooperation between species could create capabilities beyond anything either could achieve alone. "They're going to face enormous pressure as they grow up," Marcus said quietly. "Every major decision affecting both species will likely require their input." "Then we must prepare them well," Zara replied. "They will need to understand both the power they possess and the responsibility it carries." Outside, human and ethereal, ships patrolled together in formations that would have been impossible just hours earlier. The successful defense of Earth had created bonds between the two species that went beyond diplomatic agreements or trade relationships. They had become true allies, united by shared victory and the promise of a future shaped by hybrid consciousness. The age of galactic cooperation had truly begun, with two remarkable children at its center. 5 years had passed since the hegemony defeat, and the galaxy had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. The human-ethereal alliance had become a beacon of hope for countless species, offering protection and guidance to civilizations threatened by expansionist empires or natural disasters. At the center of this new galactic order stood Arya and Kael'chen Nalan, now remarkable children whose abilities continued to evolve in unprecedented directions. Marcus watched his 7-year-old daughter address the Galactic Council through holographic projection, her voice carrying the harmonic complexity of ethereal communication, while maintaining the emotional warmth of human speech. Beside her, Kale translated complex mathematical concepts into intuitive metaphors that representatives from dozens of species could understand. "The Zephyrian refugees require relocation within 37 days, Arya explained to the assembled delegates. "Their sun's expansion will sterilize their homeworld, but their atmospheric requirements match the third planet of the Kepler 442 system perfectly. Transportation logistics indicate a 17-day window for evacuation," Kale added, his young mind processing calculations that would challenge the most advanced computers. "The ethereal fleet can provide heavy transport, while human vessels offer the adaptability needed for emergency medical support during the journey." The council members, representing 43 different species, listened with respect that would have seemed impossible just years earlier. These children had already coordinated the rescue of 6 endangered civilizations, mediated 3 territorial disputes, and developed new technologies that were revolutionizing space travel and communication across the galaxy. Dr. Reeves, now serving as Director of Hybrid Development Research, monitored their neural patterns from the family's home observatory. "Their consciousness merger is becoming more sophisticated," she reported to Marcus and Zara. "They're not just sharing thoughts anymore. They're creating a collective intelligence that exists independently of either individual mind." "Is that dangerous?" Marcus asked, though he knew the answer through his bond with Zara. Their children were evolving beyond anything either parent species had imagined possible. "Unknown," Dr. Reeves admitted, "but remarkable. When they merge, their combined consciousness can interface directly with quantum computer networks, ethereal crystal matrices, and even biological neural systems of other species. They're becoming universal translators for thought itself." The development worried some observers, Earth's old guard politicians and ethereal traditionalists argued that the children were gaining too much influence over galactic affairs. Some called for restrictions on their activities, fearing that such power concentrated in two individuals could become dangerous. They're children, Senator Williams argued during a closed session of the Human Colonial Council. However remarkable their abilities, they lack the experience and wisdom to guide galactic policy. Commander Thalen, now serving as Earth's ethereal ambassador, disagreed. Age among my people is measured in centuries, but wisdom can emerge in moments. These children have already prevented wars and saved millions of lives. Their youth allows them to see solutions that older minds, bound by tradition and prejudice, cannot perceive. The debate intensified when Arya and Kale announced their intention to attempt something that both species considered impossible: direct communication with the Hegemony Empire to negotiate a permanent peace treaty. The Hegemony has never negotiated, President Chen, Marcus's distant relative who had been elected largely due to his family connection to the famous hybrid children, explained during an emergency cabinet meeting. They conquer or destroy. There's no middle ground. That's because no one has ever offered them what they truly want, Arya replied via holographic link from the family residence. Her silver markings pulsed with determination that reminded Marcus powerfully of Zara. The Hegemony seeks security and resources. We can provide both through cooperation rather than conquest. Kyle nodded, his cat-like eyes reflecting depths of understanding that seemed ancient despite his young age. Their expansion is driven by fear of resource depletion and technological stagnation. The Human Ethereal Alliance has solved both problems through cooperative development. Despite vocal opposition from military leaders and conservative politicians, the children proceeded with their plan. Using abilities that had grown far beyond their original hybrid nature, they projected their combined consciousness across interstellar distances, making contact with Hegemony leadership directly. The negotiation itself became legendary throughout the galaxy. For 18 hours, Arya and Kyle maintained consciousness projection, while simultaneously translating between the aggressive, hierarchical thought patterns of the Hegemony and the cooperative principles of the Alliance. They offered technological advancement, resource sharing, and defensive cooperation in exchange for the cessation of expansionist warfare. Marcus and Zara remained by their children's sides throughout the marathon session, monitoring their vital signs and providing emotional support through their family bond. The silver markings on all four family members pulsed in harmony as they channeled energies that bridged the gap between radically different civilizations. The Hegemony Emperor has agreed to a 10-year peace accord, Arya announced as she emerged from the projection state, exhausted but triumphant. They will participate in resource-sharing programs and technological exchange rather than pursuing conquest. More than that, Kale added, his young voice carrying harmonics of profound satisfaction. They've agreed to allow their subjected species to choose their own governance. The Hegemony will become a voluntary confederation rather than a conquest empire. The announcement sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The most militaristic and feared empire in known space had agreed to fundamental changes to their society based on negotiations with two 7-year-old children. Critics dismissed it as impossible, but confirmatory messages began arriving from former Hegemony territories as oppressed species declared their independence. How did you convince them? Dr. Reeves asked during the children's recovery period. We showed them what they could become, Arya replied simply. The Hegemony leaders were trapped by fear and tradition, unable to see alternatives to conquest. We shared human creativity and ethereal long-term perspective, helping them envision a future based on cooperation. We also promised them something they'd never had, Kale added. Children like us born from unions between their species and alliance members. They want to evolve beyond their current limitations. Marcus felt a chill of understanding. You're talking about expanding the hybrid program to other species. Not just expanding it, Zara said, her voice carrying new harmonics of excitement and apprehension. Revolutionizing it. Our children have proven that consciousness merger between different species creates capabilities none possess alone. Imagine what becomes possible when dozens of species contribute their unique perspectives and abilities. The implications were staggering. The galaxy stood on the threshold of a new evolutionary phase. where consciousness itself could be shared and enhanced across species boundaries. The children who had begun as symbols of human ethereal cooperation were becoming the founders of something unprecedented in galactic history. "The universe is changing," Marcus observed, watching his children play in their garden while star charts from a dozen civilizations displayed around them, and were right at the center of it. "Not at the center," Zara corrected, holding his hand as their bond pulsed with shared understanding. "We're the bridge. Arya and Kyle are becoming something new, and through them, all the species of the galaxy can become more than they ever imagined possible." As the sun set over their transformed world, now serving as the diplomatic heart of an ever-expanding alliance, Marcus reflected on the journey that had begun with a simple act of medical compassion. He had saved one alien life, and in doing so, had helped birth a new age of galactic consciousness. The future stretched ahead, bright with possibilities that no single species could have conceived alone, and at its heart were two remarkable children whose very existence proved that love could transcend any boundary, create any possibility, and transform the universe itself. The age of isolated species was ending. The age of universal consciousness had begun.